Hey, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving, Buff Nation from Colorado. We are enjoying a beautiful day. We had I say a lot of snow. It was kind of been a couple of snowy days. Hang on one second. There we go. And it's been a little snowy the last few days, but today is nice. It's in like the mid 40s and sunny. It's going to be a beautiful day. Out here in Colorado, got the turkey on the smoker. So we're smoking our turkey today. I've smoked 3 turkeys in the last 2 days, guys. So getting pretty darn good at it, if I might say so myself. And it's going to be awesome. I wanted to actually bring you that because we kind of Coloradoize our turkeys, if that's a word, and do kind of I guess you could say a green chili brine, as it were, to kind of spice it up a little bit. Really good, and maybe we'll bring that to you maybe for Christmas or something like that. But this game coming up for OSU, I see this as a shootout. In fact, what I'm gonna do is up above me here on the big screen in the Alpines garage here is the one of my favorite CU OSU games, which is the 1990 game, it was 2 games, the second to the last game of the season. Colorado obviously won a natty that year, and we beat Oklahoma State 41-22. And it was a good game. It was a good showing for us. It did a lot for us in the rankings, and it was just a good time. And being a guy that's not too fond of OSU, I really enjoyed that game a lot. So I thought I'd cue it up for you there, and you can watch it in the background as we're going. But I kind of see this as a shootout, and a lot of people are going to be surprised because last week, before they played last week and before we played last week, I thought this was going to be a game where we could get all of our seniors in there and get, a million points and get everybody 100 yards and have a little bit of fun with our wide receivers and Shador and Travis and have a really good kind of, I don't want to say an easy game because I don't think there are any easy games, but have an opportunity for everyone to kind of show out in this last game before we go to the Big 12 championship. But a lot changed, right? A lot changed. Now we are not, it's not up to us other than the fact that we have to win this game in order to get to the Big 12 title. And, I got the Colorado, what we got to do to win to get into the Big 12 championship. At this point, it's win plus BYU loss and Texas Tech win. Actually, we're just going to take the win out of it because we know we have to win, right? So either BYU has to lose and Texas Tech win, right? Arizona State loss and Iowa State loss, Iowa State loss and BYU loss, or Arizona State loss and BYU loss. So all of those scenarios are going to be tough, but in the last couple of weeks, we've had multiple teams fall in the Big 12. So it might not be as hard as we think, but now this game has changed. It has changed its we always had to win out, I guess, in order to get to the Big 12 championship, but Oklahoma State played better last week. It's like every Big 12 team is playing better in the last half of the year, including us, right? And Oklahoma State is not any different. They lost last week, but they played a hell of a game against Texas Tech, where between both teams, they scored over 90 points. Like it was a shootout. I think it was 48-56. OSU lost. And that tells me that, and they put in their freshman quarterback last week, and he did pretty well. And we'll go through that here in a minute. Now this game looks a lot different to me than it did a week ago. It's funny how a week can change things, right? So let's go through this a little bit. It's, even though it's not up to us whether or not, meaning that once we win this game, right? Because I'm going to tell you how we're going to win this game because we have to win this game. So I'm not going to say we're not going to win this game because I've never said that. I've never said that Colorado is going to lose this game. I've always said if we're going to win, we need to win like this, right? And last week was no different. Although I did not see, and I don't think anybody saw Kansas coming out whooping us like they did. But now that changes the landscape, right? So let's get into this a little bit. TLP is in there. So basically, I've been saying, folks, don't be taking my scouting report seriously. Yeah, TLP. So welcome to the channel there, Harry. But the biggest thing for us this week is the fact that OSU played a pretty stinking good game last week. All the OSU channels, which I watch a few of them, they're very high on their team right now going into the Colorado game. And what I mean by that is they're as high as they can be with an Ollie Gordon that isn't the same as last year, with a freshman quarterback that has almost no game experience, and a defense that is pert near the worst in college football, right? So with all of that said, that is kind of they're kind of high on themselves right now, which is really kind of crazy, to be honest with you. I wouldn't have expected this, not for a second, not for a minute, but that's where we're at. So let's roll through this really quick. Later on tonight at about 7:30, I'm going to go live and we're going to talk about bowls. So let's assume that we win this game, right? And let's assume that the others that we need in the scenarios to lose don't lose out, and we don't get a bid to the Big 12 championship. What does it look like for our bowl? Where are we going to go? Who are we going to play? What does it look like this week before the insanity ensues in every single? I mean, we got rivalry week this week, so there's going to be a lot of turnover in that top, 25, let's say. And the bowl games are going to be completely erased from what I'm going to tell you tonight. But as it looks right now, there is a bowl that it looks like we are going to and a team that we are going to play. So I'm going to tell you that more tonight at 7:30. So make sure you join for that. Now let's get into this OSU game. So it's going to be at Folsom Field, obviously a noon kickoff Eastern time, which is 10 o'clock our time. Unfortunately, I will not be at this game. It is hard for me on the Friday after Thanksgiving to attend a football game unless it's an evening game. And in this case, it's not. So I will not be there. Unfortunately, it makes me super sad. I'm just absolutely beside myself that I'm going to miss this game. But on the other hand, I think that it's going to be a good game for Colorado. And I think it's going to be a high scoring game between the two teams. I think that's why I put shootout in the title, guys. That's why my thumbnail says shootout in it, because I honestly think this is going to be a gunner's offense on both sides. And we already know that we can score a lot of points, and we are going up against, like I said, the worst total defense in college football. I think they're 133rd out of 133. I mean, I don't know how much worse you can get than that, right? And we'll go through the defense here in a minute too, but both sides, rushing and passing defense, they're in the bottom like 4, right? So it's kind of crazy when you're talking about that compared to our offense. We have such a high grade offense, especially from the passing side, that I don't see any reason why Shedeur can't get over 400 yards in this game, right? And that means that we're going to pass it a lot. Sure, why not, right? We're going to get into that too. So let's look at OSU for a second, because this is I want to say a totally different team, but it's a different team than we saw like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Last week, they had a freshman quarterback start for the team named Maliawaki Smith, right? I think I got that at least marginally close. He threw for 74.3% against Texas Tech with 316 yards. So not a bad outing for a freshman starting. And at 74.3%, it's a lot like Shedeur stats, guys. It is 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Obviously, Shedeur would have scored more touchdowns with a 316 yard game, but this guy coming off the bench and not getting a lot of playing time, coming in and playing like that against a good Texas Tech team really says a lot about this quarterback. And I don't want to make you guys think like I'm high on Oklahoma State. I'm not. But after the Kansas State debacle, I am more pragmatic than I was going into this game in the first place. Like, I'm not going to sleep on the I'm not going to sleep on the opponent this time. I slept a little bit on Kansas State and I got it shoved straight down my throat. But when you're talking about this freshman quarterback, he got a lot of game experience. I mean, they scored 48 points in that game. He got a lot of experience in that one game. And coming to Colorado, Oklahoma State is at about 750 foot of elevation, and we're at 5,350 feet, 5,360 feet. So there's going to be a little bit there, right? It's supposed to be a nice weekend, or it's supposed to be a nice day, like in the 50s. So it's going to weather's not going to be a huge factor. But I feel like myself personally watching this game, I feel like this Smith quarterback has got a little bit of confidence about him right now. He seemed to be pretty poised in the pocket. Didn't seem to really lose his crap when he was rushed, but he didn't get a lot of pressure on him, at least from what I saw. So that's going to be one of the keys to the game, is that we gotta get pressure on this guy. We don't want him to get comfortable in the pocket. And then you have running back Ollie Gordon, right? Ollie Gordon, world-beating running back, the best running back of last season, comes in this year and has, I guess, by comparison, not a very good year, right? 4.7 yards per carry, right at about 870-something yards. Not the same running game that they had last year. But I still think he's the same running back. Okay, I do. So what I did was, when I looked at this game pragmatically, I wanted to say, let's take the crappy beginning of the season that OSU had, kind of like we should have taken the crappy beginning of the year that Kansas had and thrown it away, and only look at what they've done in the past few games, specifically for OSU, the past one game, this last game, right? So let's look at Ollie Gordon in this last game. So first of all, he's 6'2", 225. We know Ollie Gordon. He's a big boy, right? He's bigger and he's tougher than Neal was. So, that in itself is a thing, right? Number 112th rushing in the country from an entire team standpoint. So terrible rushing, right? This is for the season, right? 109th in rush yards per carry. So again, very, very poor. This is for the season. Okay. So the rush for the season sucks for OSU. Okay. I'm not going to get into Colorado's rush yet, but I mean, we know ours sucks too, but their sucks compared to a potential Heisman guy coming into the season. Ollie Gordon was definitely a Heisman candidate. But this last game, he had 156 yards with a 10.4 yards per carry average against Texas Tech. 10.4, guys. Does this sound like Neal? Does this sound like what we just went through? Okay, that's why I'm saying our defense, we need to stiffen up on our defense a lot against this guy. And some kind of magic happened last week where they were able to find the block. He was able to find his last year's mojo, and he was able to tear off on Texas Tech. So this rush game really kind of scares me. It didn't scare me going into last week. It definitely scares me coming out of last week, right? Then you have the wide receivers, Stribling and Owens, both with 120 plus yards in the last game. Okay, so we know there was no defense in the last game. OSU and Texas Tech, neither one of their defenses showed up. And they scored 1 billion points. And they had two wide receivers with over 120 yards on OSU's offense. Now, obviously, our defense is not going to allow that. So there's a thing there, right? But what I'm saying is they were a pretty balanced attack last week, and they struck on all cylinders. They did a really good job last week, and they're coming in with a lot of momentum, is what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, guys, right? So at this point, and I'm going to get to your comments here in a minute. We're going to go through your comments here before we get out of here. And I'm not going to be too long so I don't keep you on your holiday. And by the way, happy Thanksgiving again to those of you just joined the chat. Defense, their defense, number 128 in pass defense, number 132 in rush defense. And they gave up 56 points to Texas Tech. So that tells me right there, there's not a whole lot. In fact, I'm going to lick my pencil and I'm going to circle that stat right there. That's going to be the key to our game. And the reason why I think that we're going to win, I think they're going to put some points on us in this game. But I think our defense, or I think our offense is going to outpower their defense more than their offense is going to outpower our defense, if you know what I'm saying, right? So they have by far the worst defense in college football. And it didn't get any better last week. It was the one part of their game that didn't get any better last week. So my assumption is it's not going to get any better this week, right? So that's basically every game in a row, 12 games in a row, bad defense for Oklahoma State. So that for us is going to be great. Now, how are we going to take advantage of that? How are we going to take advantage of a poor defense that is equally as bad in the rush as they are in the pass? Okay. So we're going to get to that right now. And then I'm going to go through my keys in the game. So first of all, Shedeur Sanders. Let's go through these stats real quick. Number 5 in passing yards in the country. Number 8 in passing efficiency in the country. Number 2 in passing TDs in the country. And number 4 in points responsible for. So he singled out is number 4 in the country for scoring the most points. So we have a guy that is top 8 in every one of those stats going up against the worst defense in college football. So this sounds like a bloodletting. It does. It sounds like we're going to win, 55-10 or something like that, right? Then you get to our rushing stats. Now, I'm not going to go through the rushing stats too much because I think you guys already know we are we are dead last in rushing in the country. So is this the game going against one of the worst rushing defenses in college football? Number 128 out of 133. Can we get the rush going in this game? And are we even going to try? Right? That's why I'm going to put my hands up like this, and maybe that'll be a thumbnail for, after the game or something like that. But are we going to intently try to rush the ball in order to create time of possession advantage and keep Ollie Gordon off the field, right? And I'm even going to say keep this Smith guy off the field too, because at 74.3% in his last game against Texas Tech, I think we need to have a little bit of respect for this guy. Okay. So are we going to do that? I think we're going to rush by committee. I think we're going to see more Welch in this game because really you got to have more Welch. You really got to have more Welch in this game. I think we all agree with that. I'm not sure what his health status is, but he seemed to be, okay getting into the game last week. And I haven't seen anything on him yet, whether or not he's 100% in or 100% out or whatever. But I really want to see more Welch in this game. Now, let's go to Charlie. Okay. Now, this may not be the most popular topic in this chat, but put down below kind of what you think of this. This may be the last time that we see Charlie suit up. I don't know that. I haven't talked to him. I'm not saying anything. What I'm saying is he's a senior. He's a junior in football, right? But he's a senior in college. Obviously, he wants to be a doctor. He wants to be a dentist. We know that. And I don't know where he's going to do his post-grad work. So is he going to do his post-grad work at the University of Colorado? I would assume he probably would be. Maybe we'll get him on the show and we'll talk about that. But it could be the last time he suits up at home. Let's just say, for instance, that this might be the case, right? In this case, he is about 47 yards away from hitting his 150-yard high in 22. Is he going to get that 47 yards, right? He's tied with Welch for the highest yards per carry at 4.7. So obviously we don't have world-beating running game. So 4.7 is what we're going to have to take. But they're tied. Welch and Charlie Offerdahl are tied in yards per carry. So my question is this going to be his last game as a Colorado Buffalo? Is he going to play next year as a grad student? Still has a year of eligibility. It's going to be interesting to find out. But we might see Charlie more in this game than we think we will. And that's just from an outsider perspective looking at all of the stats and those kinds of things, right? But then we haven't even talked about the seniors yet. The seniors, we have a lot of seniors on this team, and we're going to list those here in just a second, okay, guys? And we're going to celebrate them a little bit. And really our entire core wide receiving core and our quarterback are all seniors this year. So, why wouldn't we air it out and show all of them some love right before the draft? Right? We're going to have a bowl game and Coach Prime says everybody's going to play in the bowl game, which is great, right? Is that actually going to happen? Who knows? But we don't know right now. I would expect that they probably would, just due to this team is different than any other team in college football. Everybody else is looking out for themselves and probably won't play in a postseason bowl. But our guys might, and that would be great to have all of them show up and show out in a bowl game like the Las Vegas Bowl or like the Holiday Bowl or something like that. That would be really great. But we have Travis with 1,036 yards. We have Wester with 705, Shepard with 550, and Jimmy Horn. And I haven't seen Jimmy Horn's status either. I need to look that up. If anybody knows, throw it down in there. But he's about 66 yards short of 500 yards for the season. So if he can play, if he's going to be in this game, I can see him getting 66 yards and getting to the 500 mark in his senior year. That would be huge for him. I don't know how much of a play that has in draft status, but I think it would be something that could be measurable. And he hasn't really played a lot, obviously, because he's been injured. So this could be a good game for him. Now, let's look at the keys, my keys to the game. So every single time we've had this conversation, my key to the game is time of possession. If we control time of possession, we usually win the game. And I should say, if we win time of possession, I think we've won every game we've had time of possession advantage, which hasn't been that many times, right? So what does it take to win time of possession? It means playing smart. It means running the ball a little bit more, shorter passes, get the tight end involved, a lot of screens, those kinds of things to eat chunk yardage at 4 to 6 yards per catch or per carry. And then working our way down the field, kind of like Kansas did on us, and eating between 5 and 8 minutes off the clock. The last thing we want to do is have Ollie Gordon have, all the time in the world to run. And we can actually take an entire possession or two away from them by doing that. And that's the key to time of possession, is if you can dominate time of possession, you take at least one possession away from that team. One possession could mean a scoring drive, right? Two possessions, if you take two possessions away from that team, whether it be through time of possession or a very stingy defense that takes the ball away a lot, then you've clinched the game. So that's the reason why time of possession for me. Second would be run the ball. Now, there's a dichotomy here. Let's get into the dichotomy. Why is there a dichotomy with running the ball in this game? And I'm just going to say it because I'm going to say it. Because you don't get anywhere in life unless you put a little risk out there, and I'm going to do it, right? We need to run the ball so that we can establish time of possession and also see what we have for next year, okay, in the run game. We have a young offensive line for the most part. We have some seniors on the offensive line. We definitely have a young running back core, okay? So they're almost all of them are sophomores at this point. So, and the transfer portal is just around the corner as well. So we have that going for us. But what can we do with the rush to solidify this game and give Shedeur an opportunity to make select passes down the field and really get a lot of chunk yardage? I mean, we're talking his average could go up to 15, 16, 17 yards per completion if we can get a running game going. That's going to help every one of the wide receivers out. I also think it's going to get us up in the game a little bit more than we would be if we just kind of had the same game plan we went going into Kansas, right? Number 3, play smart football. What does that mean, play smart football? Do we not play smart football? I think we do for the most part, but there are also some games where we don't. In this particular case, if it looks like we need to punt the ball, let's punt the ball. We have one of the best punters in college football. Let's give him the ball. And let's keep their playing field really, 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 really long is what I'm saying, right? And there are some opportunities where I think, I'm yelling, punt the ball, punt the ball, punt the ball. We go for it on fourth down like this last time, went for it on 4th and 1 twice, and we didn't convert. I appreciate the fact that we know as a team we can probably do this. But at the same time, we're playing to win, and those kind of plays count. So play smart football. Limit penalties is number 5. Number 4, limit penalties. Penalties for us, I think we definitely have a more skilled offense and defense. I think all the way around. Our quarterback is not night and day compared to their freshmen. Their running back is, I would say, probably better than most of our running backs when you look at the history of it, right? But our wide receiver core, lights out. I think our offensive line, lights out. Our defense totally is completely the opposite of their defense. If you look on paper, we should win this game handily. But we have to limit the things that are going to what we do to ourselves, which is penalties. We got to limit that. We got to stop, giving them a conversion on third down because of a holding penalty in the secondary, or a targeting penalty or something like that. We really need to limit penalties. And then my last one is blitz like crazy. Like, I think we should just unleash everybody on this freshman and see if we can't shake them up, because I think we can. We have the dogs on defense that if we were to run a very high percentage blitz, that we would just absolutely shake him out of his shoes. And we would take that 74% completion percentage that he has in his last game and drill that way down. And then they're going to have to rely on Ollie Gordon, and Ollie Gordon's going to have to beat us. That is kind of scary, but at the same time, I would probably rather do that than see what this freshman can do against our secondary if we give him all the time in the world. So those are my keys to this game. They're probably different than almost anybody else. I haven't watched anybody else's show this week. I've been busy as heck this week, guys. But the dichotomy in this game for me is, I want to run the ball against a team that sucks against the rush, and I want to control the clock. But at the same time, we have a lot of seniors on this team, including Shootout, at home in the last game that some of them might play before the draft. And we want to get them a final game that really looks impressive and really kind of caps off the season and is good for, the folks at Folsom, and good for the coaching staff, and really ended on a high note, the way that we win games, which is through the air with our receiving core. So that's the dichotomy of this game. I like it either way. If we win passing, I'm fine. If we win running and possessing the ball and doing the things that I'm talking about, I think we'll all be happy as well. We just want to win out of this because we have to win. We cannot take Oklahoma State for granted. If this happens twice in a row, Kansas and Oklahoma State in a row, man, I don't even want to think about what that looks like. So we're not going to let that happen, and we're going to be doing the things that we know that we can do in order to win this game. Now, let's look at some of the comments here. TLP, Chris, if Colorado falls behind, they will not run the ball. They get spooked and only think of throw. No, I agree. I'm not saying that they will. If they get behind, and I don't know that anybody who's behind, it's not just Colorado, it's any team. If you get behind, you're not running the ball unless you are a rushing team. You're throwing the ball because that's how you're going to get chunk yardage and get down the field. The problem is it's a losing proposition for a lot of teams that don't have the skilled players we do. Brooklyn Boy says, why are we going to have any tight ends and running backs on this team if Coach Prime ain't going to utilize them properly? I can tell you this, that next year, I hope that came out wrong. Next year, I think that it will be different. I think with Juju being a freshman, I think that our offense will look a little bit different. We're going to have to rely on, multiple packages and multiple, plus all of our core wide receivers. I'd say all of our core. I'm sorry. Our core wide receivers from this year that we use this year are going to be gone. And we're going to be relying on the next up. And we saw some really good receivers in that group, right? Plus we have an incoming freshman that is stellar, right? So I don't think that we're lacking in that. But at the same time, I agree with you completely, Brooklyn. We need to balance our offense out a little bit in order to recruit those tight ends and those running backs that we want. They're not going to come to Colorado if they don't think they're going to get the ball. And so therefore, we're going to always be trying to modify things in that game when other teams are winning like that. Most of these teams that are going to be in the top 5, 6, and we'll look that up because we did last year, and all of them had a strong tight end game and all of them had a strong running game. The only one that didn't, but they had a strong tight end, but not a strong running game, was Washington, and they made it to the national championship, but then they got waxed. So there is a way to do it when you're carrying it on the shoulders of one person, in which case last year Washington hung it on their quarterback, and we could hang it on Shootout like we have, and we've been winning, right? But I don't know that a true freshman quarterback of any aid is going to be able to come in and do that. So I'm with you on that one. Jennifer says, don't look at the comments. No, don't look at the comments. Let's see. Harry, Let's see. You and I know that most of these fans, people out here don't give a crap about these players. CP understands that. He could defend his players. I don't know about that. I do not know about that, guys. Let me look for another comment here. Jennifer says, Jennifer's always safe with the comments. If Prime would have raised a big stink, then you'd be here saying he's just doing it because of his son. Just hush and let the people handling the business behind the scenes handle too is fine. I'm assuming this is about some other things in the comments. JJ Stallworth says, Happy Thanksgiving. JJ Stallworth says, Harry or anyone has read the SI op-ed on the dirty hits on CU players and the lack of response from CP or the players. People will anything. Jennifer says, Happy Thanksgiving. Anything that comes out. Oh, Don Sember's here. Anything that comes out about Colorado at this point, as far as I'm concerned, guys, win or lose this game, it's just people trying to milk the clicks for the rest of the season. I mean, everybody knows, including this channel knows, that if you report on CU at any point, your rate of viewership goes considerably higher than if you're following any other team, even Georgia for that matter. I mean, I'm watching some Georgia YouTube channels and they're not getting half of the views that even this channel does. And I only go live maybe once or twice a week, right? You have a lot of others like Harry and these guys that are in here that are getting multiple thousands per week, over 10, 20,000 a week, just reporting on CU. And the reason why is because we are, what's happening TV right now. And so anybody will do anything they can to draw some scrutiny on Colorado and get some clicks. So, and I don't even really watch those. I don't watch them not because I'm sickened by it or anything like that. I just don't have the time to do it. I'll watch some quality stuff like TLP. I'll watch some quality stuff. And I do watch some other YouTubers. I'll watch Harry, my boy Dave. I'll watch him. And there's a handful of others. Obviously, DNVR. I mean, you can't not watch that. That's Colorado football right there in a nutshell. Don Sember says, "Good afternoon, beautiful people. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody." Well, thank you. And while we're on that, I am very thankful for everyone that has joined this channel this year and last year, and made it as successful as it has. And your feedback in the chat is just stupendous. And I couldn't have done this without you. And I can say that for all of my YouTube brethren out there, I say the same thing. We are all very grateful for all of the folks that have shown up for Coach Prime and the University of Colorado through our channels. We are going to play better tomorrow. Jennifer, I agree with you. I think that we learned our lesson. We came out flat. We weren't at home. This time we're at home. It feels good. It's the last game for Shedeur. There is no way that we aren't pumped up for this game, right? I say Shedeur and Travis. And again, I'm sick. I'm not going to be there. Happy Thanksgiving, Alpine Garage, and your family. Thank you very much. We are in the middle of getting everything prepared right now. I'm in the garage playing with you guys while everybody else is hard at work in the kitchen. Chris, this game should scare you, but they should be okay. I agree. JJ Stallworth, I haven't read it, but Prime said on the last one that the player was going to call Shedeur and apologize. Yeah, I heard that too. So there's a whole lot of see, Oklahoma State has some underrated wide receivers too. I think everybody has underrated wide receivers. TLP says, why do you think Prime doesn't want to run the ball? Is that for me, Harry? Do you want me to answer that? Because I will. I'll answer it. I'll answer it for you. I'll be your huckleberry. Why doesn't Prime want to run the football? I don't think it's Prime that doesn't want to run the football necessarily. And I honestly don't think that the OC doesn't want to run the football. And I don't think that Shedeur doesn't want to run the football. I'm going to say that. And I've convinced myself of this, right? Because I've gone the other way and I've said lots of things contrary to this. I think what is happening here is that we don't practice the run like we would if we wanted to run the ball. Like, I think we practice the run as an RPO option. Like, I think it's an option if it's there, right? If the defense is set to allow us to gain yardage, I believe we will run the ball. Here's the problem with that is that when you're in a 10 personnel set, you've got 4 wide receivers, there's always going to be a mismatch or a lot of times there's going to be a mismatch in one of those 4 one-on-ones. Okay. Or even if the defense is playing zone and one of the receivers gets into a soft area of the zone, Shador keys on that. That's what he's really good at, right? He's going to opt for that every single time. And he even said with the Charlie touchdown when Charlie scored his touchdown, he said that he was like keying in on Charlie saying, are you sure you're ready for this? Are you sure you're game? Are you sure you can do this? Because he said that he knew there was going to be an open receiver. Okay. So even in Shadur's mind, he even said it in the press conference that he's keying in on those open wide receivers versus the rush, knowing that maybe the running backs aren't super confident in what they can do, right? Here's the other part of that. When you're running an RPO and you're primarily a pass option, but you have a run option in there, your offensive line is not blocking for the rush, they're blocking for the pass. And that's the problem. Is our running backs are having to make nothing or make something out of nothing, right? The gaps aren't there, the holes aren't there. The defense knows what we're doing, and it makes it very hard. So TLP, why do you think Prime doesn't want to rush the ball is your question. And I'm saying that if we could rush the ball, if we could have a designed offense to rush the ball, I think Coach Prime would be fine with it. I think that the OC would be fine with it. I think that the quarterback would be fine with it, but we just do not scheme it that way. We don't. And the reason why is because we have Shador as a quarterback, and he is very good at handling the football, especially with a pass. And why wouldn't you give it to him every time and say, if you can get the ball to one of the wide receivers, do it, because our wide receivers are great and you're great. And there's a higher percentage of getting that completion and getting a first down than running our running backs in an RPO with no run blocking and having a tough time just getting stacked up and knocked down. So I think that's where it's at. Shirley Kimball says, good morning, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving. Flocked on Buff says, we don't have a tight end. Actually, we do. We have several tight ends. We just don't use them. I think Savell Smalls is severely underrated as a tight end, guys. Remember, he's a 5-star guy coming out of high school, and he played tight end as one of his positions in high school and was really good at it as well. All Prime says is Shador is tough. BS Coach Prime, because he is tough. You will allow other players to get hurt. No, I don't think that's it. JJ, how could you say that? Why do you expect Prime to do or say he already a target? Anything he says will be taken out of context and people will blow it up. I agree with you. Jennifer says, if Prime would have raised a big stink, then you would hear he's saying he's just doing it because of his son. I think we went through that comment already. KR's in here. Happy Thanksgiving and go Buffs. Thank you, KR. Thanks for dropping in. I don't think the tight ends have more than 10 catches collectively. That is true. I think there's literally 1 catch in every game. So we might actually have 10, maybe 10, but we probably don't have much more than 10. TLP says, CU is the hottest thing spinning. Let's see. TLP says, last year it was the O-line sucks. This year the O-line is decent. So why would we only take 10 snaps a game at running? It's because the decent part of our line is the pass blocking decency. I could be wrong. I don't think we play or we practice designed run very much. If we did, I think we would look a lot different. I think our offensive line is good enough to do that. I think we need to practice it. I think that's what it is. I don't think it will be a shootout. It's going to be CU defense shutting OSU down and getting, okay. I'm going to give you my prediction here in a little bit. My prediction means absolutely nothing because it's just a prediction. But I personally think that it's going to be a shootout. Sentimental running is cute, but Kansas had the ball for 40 minutes. Yeah, I agree. Do you think Arizona could be able to beat Arizona State in order for us to get to the Big 12? No, I don't. I don't think that's our best option right there. I think they already spoiled who is committed tonight for the Buffs: McPherson, Merritt, and Carday Smith. So it's probably your news tonight. Maybe, and we may talk about that a little bit too. I think I love talking about CU commits. Don't get me wrong. I think it's great. But every year in college football, it gets harder and harder and harder to predict where people are going, even though they've committed. So it's really National Signing Day, and once the portal gets open and we see these guys commit, that's when it really is. I don't like talking to talk. I like hopefully speaking things into fruition or speaking about things that are solid. And in this particular case, there's a lot of back and forth going on, and I love to celebrate that. I want Carday Smith to come here more than anybody. Honestly, I think that really our offense at this point is we just our offense is getting a little bit cut this year with everybody leaving for the NFL or just losing eligibility, and anything we can do to get that back to where we were this year, I think is something that we need to focus on. So, but as far as commits are concerned, we'll see. Good show, Chris. Wonderful day. Peace out, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. I appreciate you all being here. We're going to be going again live tonight at 7:30. It's probably going to be a bowl prediction video, but who knows on a Thanksgiving day what's going to happen. I will see you in the next video.